All right, welcome to Inner Pop, and welcome to part two of our Christmas movie special.
Our
Today we got
our
Ink's
holiday
pick,
mischief.
Oh yeah, Holiday Mischief Christmas special. Yes, thank you for the reminder. Fumbled that.
It's fine.
Oh,
That is a good representation of the chaos to come, guys. My pick is less traumatizing than Issa's, but no less confusing. So can't wait to jump in.
so excited for this one.
All right, here we go. So my pick, funny enough, also involved homeless people.
Is it Home Alone?
No,
Wait, no, they weren't
genuine. No, no,
homeless.
no. They're not homeless. They have a big ass house.
I was thinking about the Sticky Bandits.
Yeah, they're not homeless either, are
They're
they?
not homeless.
They're just terrible people.
They are. They are. Just terrible people.
They might be homeless. I don't know. But no. So mine also involves homeless people. I was feeling a bit like I was gonna apologize for some of the old fashioned views in my movie, but now I'm not
No.
going
No
to.
need. No need.
No, I'm not going to. Because mine is from like the 1930s or something. I don't recall the actual date, and as a matter of fact, I'm gonna Google it while we're sitting here. 1947. So you get what you get with that, right? And it's in Hollywood, so it's all white
Right.
people. Not that that's awful or anything, but just, you get that old Hollywood white, those sort of some of those
Of
views, right?
right. Very old
In
fashioned.
terms of like the way they talk about the women and things sometimes, and the fact that like one of the main characters is like 18 and stuff like that. So and they're but anyways, so that part aside, because it's really only a few comments here and there, and it's not anything big or bad or whatever, but and that's as bad as it gets. So it's called It Happened on Fifth Avenue, and it's like an old black and white movie, obviously. The kind where like the credits roll at the beginning of the film, so you're forced to watch them before we even get to the movie, like old school, right?
Right.
And so the whole thing opens up. We're in New York, and we're talking the days of like, Vanderbilt is in the era, and the Rockefellers and all this stuff,
Yeah.
right? We're talking like the days. So there's a homeless man walking down the street. He's got his teeny tiny little dog under his arm because
Oh.
why would it be walking? And he's whistling down the street, and we see him as he's walking. There's like this tour bus passing that's like sort of a double decker style bus, and so like on the top of it it's like an open area like the London bus is kind of, and
Okay.
it's like a tour group, and they're driving past this mansion, and they're talking about Michael J. O'Connor, who is like the richest man in the world or whatever, and this is his summer house.
Ooh.
And yeah, because he's also got a winter house, and it's a whole thing. And it's like this big mansion and all this stuff, right? And so the bus passes, and so you're getting like the backstory of what this house is, because we see our homeless man crawl into the fence and then go like down into what I assume ends up being like the cellar or the basement or something, and so like get inside the house, right? And there's like a loose board in the fence, and he goes right on in. And we kind of learn over the course of some scenes that this is like what he does annually, and he like yearly comes during winter to be in the house while O'Connor is in the winter house in the other state or wherever he is. So then we cut to, because this is after the war, so we cut to this like apartment building that And it does this cut in the way that like the old movies do, where it cuts to like a picture of the newspaper or whatever before
Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah, and it's talking about O'Connor buying the building and turning it into something else. I don't know. And we hear some arguing going on between like the owner or the landlord of the building and this guy who is handcuffed to a bed, standing on the bed, which is just a mattress. There's nothing else in the room. And he's got his hat on, he's got just his white shirt on and his underwear on, and that's it. And he's handcuffed to the bed,
Oh no.
screaming about how he's not gonna go, he has nowhere to go, it's impossible to find a place to live, and the guy's arguing with him like you were given notice, just please come out and all this stuff. And we learn that this guy, his name is Jim Bullock, and he's like ranting and raving about O'Connor and calls him an octopus and all this stuff. And so
Octopus?
an octopus. So the landlord like or whoever calls calls in some people to essentially what they do, because at first he's not handcuffed to the bed, if I recall correctly. He ends up handcuffed to the bed because the people come in to like remove him from the building, so he handcuffs himself to the bed. Yeah. One second, let me cough.
Oh, you're good.
All right. Now that things are cleared, so they come in and literally lift the bed up, and he's just standing on the bed, fully up, and then they like carry him out, and he bumps his head on the way out, and his hat comes off, and it's a whole thing. So then we cut to being in, I guess, Central Park or wherever, and he's like laying down on the bench, and he's like covering himself with a newspaper. Not literally, I don't think, but like, he's trying to stay warm. It's cold. It's winter
Right.
in New York. He doesn't have a place to go. He is homeless. We learn he like was a veteran, and that's why he was like yelling about being an optimist. I've served in the war, and I've come back, and now I can't find a place to live, and all this stuff. Which, fair and valid concerns at the time. These were things that were really happening,
And now. Happens
and
now,
now,
too.
frankly, yes. Except for the fact that then the war had just ended, so it was it was
Yeah.
not as far. Not that it matters, because again, still things that are happening, but at that point it was still very fresh.
Right.
And so they're coming back and like can't even find a place to live. Anyways, so he's on the park bench, and then we hear our whistling again. An old homeless dude, who we learn is McKeever is his name, Aloysius T or
Ooh.
P, I don't know which, Aloysius McKeever. We never
Aloysius
call him that.
definitions.
Right. We
Make
never
the
call
boys
him
go
that.
look. I'm sorry. Continue. Continue.
I love that. So he is like walking, he's whistling in the park with the dog, who is now on the ground this time, and the dog walks up to Jim on the bench, and they have, the interaction, and they meet and talk, and so he invites Jim back to, oh, you can stay at my house.
But of course.
So he goes to the house, and he stays a little bit, right? And of course, sort of in the course of him being at the house, kind of discovered a little bit that this is not, or that he thinks, we know it's not O'Connor, right? At this point, he doesn't know that.
Okay.
So we get there, and then he is in the house, and then discovers while he's in the house that like it's O'Connor's things. So he then assumes that this other guy is O'Connor.
Right.
And so then he's like, oh, well, you octopus. It's
Blah, 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 blah.
because that's the insult, right? So, and then he has the sort of like, this argument, like, you octopus and why I oughta, the whole 9 yards from back in the day.
Right.
But as they're having this discussion, the door opens, and when the door opens, all the lights go out in the place. And Aloysius McKeever drags Jim into like another room to hide or something, or like they're peeking out because he was like, "Oh, I thought you lived alone here." He's like, "I am." So,
Oh no. I
right.
didn't know this was a horror movie.
And so they see this girl walking in the door and up the stairs and into the room. And so they follow her up there, and she's like pulling his coat out of the closet. And then they confront her, like, "What are you doing in here? Like, you thief, you're just taking things out of here." What I recall is we sort of know already, or not, I can't remember because everything blends together after a while, but
Right.
the girl is actually O'Connor's daughter, who has been sent to
Oh.
finishing school at some point or another when her parents divorced. And she has run away from the finishing school and she's come home. So this is her house, technically, right? Because she's like 18 or 19 or whatever. So she's
Okay.
coming up here thinking she's in her empty house getting
This
the
is my
coat.
house.
Right. Because she is then confronted by these guys, and Jim is like, "We'll call the police," and she's like, "I ought to call the police." And there's this whole thing, and so McKeever is like, "Give us just a moment," and takes Jim outside the door, and Jim takes the mink coat with him, like, "You're not gonna steal this." And so she goes to the door to listen to them, and that's when we find out, yeah, I'm not O'Connor. I come stay here when he's at the house over there, and then when he comes back here, I go over there, and this is a thing he
Oh.
does every year.
Smart. That's so smart.
It's great.
Big brain.
Right. So this is how he gets out of like working and living a life, and he's like, he has this like philosophical speech at one point about like, I why should I work? I worked hard for a long time, but now I let them do the work and earn the money, and I just enjoy the benefits. And while he's there, I air out his clothes and wear them so they don't get dusty, and I eat his food. He's not gonna miss, all this stuff. It's this very philosophical speech that cracks
Very
me up every time.
Indeed.
It's great, but actually very smart, especially back then. So
Especially,
she
yeah.
is hearing all of this and she thinks it's fantastic. She is like laughing. She's having a great time. Her name is Trudy. She decides when they come back in the room that because, now they're having to backtrack. We can't call the police because we're not supposed to be here either.
Right.
And so they're like, as they start to say like, "Oh, well, don't worry about it." She decides to pretend to also be homeless, and she's like, "Oh, I just needed a coat. I have a job interview tomorrow and all this stuff, and I ran away from home," which she kind of did, but that's a different story. And all this stuff, and she like fake passes out to get the sympathy because the women must faint.
Of course.
Yes, because she's weak with hunger. But
Hand to the forehead.
right.
Everything.
She's weak with hunger. She's the most well-dressed woman I've ever seen. She's got a face full of makeup, but she's homeless,
Bruh.
and she is starving and faints, and it's all thing. So then when they, get her to come to, so to speak, they're sitting and like they give her some food, and they're like, "Oh, I know you're having a hard time, but you mustn't sneak in and steal things. It's terrible to sneak into other people's houses." And she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I've never done a thing like this before," and all this stuff. And so they end up letting her stay, and they give her a different coat to go to like do this job interview to sell sheet music the next day or whatever. And so it just like they end up, this couple of them living in the house or whatever.
Right.
And they build this like friendly deal or whatever as time goes on. And then one day, Jim and Trudy, who she now has a crush on him because of course, and all of this is of course happening at Christmas time, right?
Of course.
Right. So
Christmas.
they're walking back along the street and they're talking about something or other, and we see in this car there are two women and one baby and one toddler. And so they're walking past, and then one of the women is like, Jim? And so they both stop, and he's like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you, and how's your husband? And all of these things, whatever. So we find out that she is married to one of the guys that he used to like be with in the military or whatever. And so like
Oh.
they already knew each other and stuff. And that the other girl with the new baby is now the wife of a different, like another, so there's three of them, like, the three musketeers. She's the wife of the other guy. And like, oh, well, we're living out of our car because there's nowhere to live and we don't have any money. And they're upstairs trying to get the apartment. And so Jim is like, oh, well, I'll go upstairs and say hi, because of course they're not busy doing anything like trying to get a place to live.
No, of course.
And he's like, Trudy, you stay here and chat over old times, which always makes me crack up because, like, y'all don't know each other, but it's fine.
Exactly.
He runs up. He runs up, and, they have their, like, little reunion or whatever, and then Jim starts, like, complimenting their kids in front of the, like, prospective landlord, and then they're like, oh, no, 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 no. And he's like, oh, well, did I say something wrong? And the landlord's like, you most certainly did. Like, we don't allow dogs or children.
Ooh.
And and so they don't get the place to stay. So then they're brought back to the O'Connor mansion. So now we've got like,
Oh,
8 people
no.
and 2 children and all of these things, right? And so a little bit of time passes or whatever, and then O'Connor has gotten the call, of course, right, that his daughter's run away from the school, and so he like shows up at the house, or not at the house. He like shows up at her job, and
Ah.
he's like, "What's going on?" And so she's like explaining that all of these things, and she mentions something about Jim, and he's like, well, who is that? And she starts like telling all these things, and he's like, you mean there's just people living in my house? And he's like appropriately confused and upset, right?
Right, right. What do you
And
mean?
she's just like, she thinks this is grand and there's not a thing in the world wrong with it. And he's like, well, no, you're gonna go back to school and you're gonna do, XYZ, whatever. And she's like, absolutely not, I'll do no such thing. Which, girl, go back to school, but that's that's a different story. And so she's like, well, but you just have to meet Jim, you don't get it. And he's like, she's like, oh, but you can't meet him as you. Like, what do you mean? What's wrong with Michael J. O'Connor? She's like, well, he, aside from the fact that he thinks you're an octopus, she's like, oh, well, I want him to like not know that I am O'Connor's daughter and like have those bad feelings associated with it. So now we begin the ruse of, now we have pretended to find Michael J. O'Connor, who we are now calling Mike. So now he is also living in the house. And so he's
I
like
love.
being tasked with like these crazy things, like he has to do the dishes now and he's living in the servant quarters and he's like he's doing the laundry, right? And he gets all of these crazy tasks. But they, at the same time all this is going on, Jim and the other two military guys have come up with this idea for a business, and they're gonna buy this like old army barracks camp outside of New York, and they're gonna like turn it into housing, because like it's already kind of there and it's got the plumbing and the electricity hookups and all the things, and we can turn it into housing for the military guys and their families and XYZ, whatever, right? So they're doing this in the background, right? Keep that in mind. And so they're trying to buy this property that also Michael J. O'Connor's business is trying to buy. So they're like in this bidding war over this property, right? And this is like what's going on in the background.
And how are
And
they gonna outbid the rich guy?
well, as McKeever would like to put it, you're just going to make the bid. There's no harm in making the bid. And then if you get the bid, you'll find out how you get the money later. You'll figure something out. It'll come to you later. So
Okay.
they just start, it's a whole bidding war. It's a whole thing. And so because they're doing that, they send one of the guys and his wife, the one with the new baby, out to talk to this construction company or whatever. I don't know why it had to be them. I don't remember right now, but it doesn't matter. So they leave the baby with Trudy and the other woman, because the 18-year-old obviously knows how to take care of the baby.
Of
And,
course.
right. So once her dad comes to stay there, now that O'Connor's there, somebody makes a comment like, oh, it's time to feed the baby. And she's like, or she makes a comment like, oh, it's time to feed the baby. And somebody makes a comment like, oh, what a great little mother. And, whatever. And so cue the moment, the briefest of moments where O'Connor thinks it's her baby and she's run away because Jim got her pregnant.
Oh, no.
And
No.
and he's like, well, if you're already married, then, because of course she wanted him to meet Jim because, well, I want to, Daddy, I want to be with him. And so this is what he's thinking has happened is, oh, well, we've already had the baby, so you're already married. Fine, I give you my blessing. What's done is done. And she's like, we're not married. And he's like, he didn't marry you.
You know what, though? Props to him for still supporting,
For still
even
supporting.
if that were the case.
And that's my
Props to
favorite.
him.
That's my favorite thing about it, because even though this is in 1947, that it comes out right. Obviously, it was filmed before then, but like,
Right.
but even with that, we still kind of listen to her. Like, he could have easily been
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna call the cops, get all these fucking people out of my house. But he was like, okay, I'll go meet the dude. I'll do whatever nonsense. I'll dress up in the homeless outfit and
Yeah,
pretend to
that's
be,
how you know he
he's
loves
doing
his
the
daughter.
things. He's telling her, like, oh, you have to go back to school and you have to do this and, like, whatever. And obviously it's just finishing school, but still. And she's like, I'm not happy there. I don't, want to be there. And I haven't been happy since the divorce. And, like, something happened to the family because we used to be different and now it's this and all these things. But he listens to her, right? Obviously, change doesn't happen immediately because this is a movie. That's how it works. But he listens and lets her get those out and takes it in. And so that's great the whole time. However, so we have this miscommunication going on, and it does get resolved, of course, because right as he's about to, like, oh, I ought to go beat him senseless, he didn't even marry you, and how did, all this stuff, whatever.
Right.
Then he's about to open the door, and then suddenly the door opens and, like, pushes him out of the way, and then the actual parents comes in, and it's, the whole funny moment.
Yeah.
And so, continuing on, O'Connor just does not really like Jim, and it gets to a point where he's just like, nope, I'm going to put an end to all this. This is ridiculous and all of these things. And so Trudy is, like, very upset. So she writes a letter to her mother, who is divorced and hasn't seen or spoken to her father in however long, and lives in, like, Palm Springs. And so she sends a telegram to her mother, as one does.
Of course. Yeah.
Her mother gets this telegram from, like, the Palm Springs hotel she's living at, and is immediately, I guess, the next day in New York. And so now she's like, you must fly to New York at once and we have to meet and it's very urgent. And so she does. We don't see the meeting. Well, I mean, we do, but kind of. So she's talking so now mom and daughter are having their discussion, right? And she's like, oh, but mommy, I love him, and dad is just being ridiculous, and he just doesn't like him, and all these things, right? And mom is like, well, I fully support all of these decisions. And she's like, I know exactly what we'll do. So she goes to live.
No.
She is in the house. And so she goes to live in the house as, like, this cook. So now we have a cook in the house. And so, like, there's this whole scene where, like, O'Connor and McKeever go out because obviously there's 10 million people living in this house now. The food's all gone and there's nothing happening. We gotta work. So they go out to work and they come back from working, during which McKeever does not work and O'Connor has to do all the work, which, haha, it's a rich man doing all the work.
Of course.
And they come back and they're talking, and then in the middle of the sentence, O'Connor's like, what does this smell? That smells like slumgullion, which never heard of in my life. Didn't know that was a food. He then proceeds to explain, because nobody else has ever heard of it either in the movie, that it is a kind of Irish stew and that he fell in love on account of said Irish stew and married his wife because of it. And then he's like sniffing again, and he's like, no, that is the smell. And so they go into the kitchen, and sure enough, there's Mary, is her name, cooking the stew, which I Googled slumgullion, and it didn't look right. And, you know, I'm not one to be saying anything about other cultures' food, and I like to try all of the things. But it didn't look like stew to me, so I just assumed that one of two things had happened, and either number one, I did not Google it correctly, or number two, whatever the recipe used to be is not what it is now.
Yeah, it looks like Hamburger Helper, or the
Right.
images that are coming up for me.
And it very much was like stew in the movie. It was very different. I don't know. So anyways, that's a whole different thing. If you're Irish, please, if you know anything about that, just let us know. So they then sort of argue, right? Because everybody else like leaves the kitchen, and it's just him, his ex-wife, and his daughter. And we're in the kitchen, and then he's arguing with his ex-wife, and she's like, well, I can, and he's, you know, I'll just kick everybody out. And she's like, well, you're just afraid you can't last. And he's like, well, you are spoiled and rich now too, you're not gonna last either. And they're going back and forth, right? Which, fair enough, because they both are.
Right.
So they then, like, she's like, oh, well, I can last longer than you. And so then we're both staying, and it turns into a whole thing, right? And so the rest of the movie is this various things taking place in which the property bidding war is still going on, right? Mm-hmm. The property bidding war that, of course, O'Connor does win. And so they are all upset about that. And while this was going on, before Mary, the ex-wife, came, or maybe right after, O'Connor had, when Jim went to go have a meeting with the construction guys to try and, you know, get some more money for the project, you know, because the money's just going to come to you somehow.
Of course. Magically appears, unicorn style.
Right. It turned out that O'Connor owned the construction company that he was going to talk to. So he called the people up, and he was like, this man's going to come in, don't listen to his idea, offer him a job in Bolivia. So...
A job in Bolivia?
A job in Bolivia.
That's a long way from New York.
That's a long way from... And that's the point, right? The farther away from my daughter, the better, right?
Exactly.
So, they win the bidding war, and now Jim's been offered this job. And of course, once he's offered it, Jim's like, no, I'm not going to take that job. I'm going to stay up here. And O'Connor is trying to, like, talk him into taking it. Like, oh, why wouldn't you do that? Bolivia is the tin capital of the world.
The tin capital of the world.
The world. Oh,
yes.
well, the pretty girls down there. And he's like, oh, well, they're not bad up here either. And, you know, all the stuff. And then we're building the flirty romance moments. And there's more scenes between Jim and Trudy and everything. But then, of course, you know, we're decorating the Christmas tree. We're doing these things, right? Like, there's shoveling of the snow. Where's the jobs people are doing, right? Like, it's very reminiscent of that fact. And so we've lost the bid, we've lost things. They go and explain that to the army guys. It's not going to happen, and all of these other things occur. By the time we hit not quite the end of the movie, but close to, we discovered Jim is going to take the job that this construction group offered him, and that Mary hears the name of the job, and she's like, oh, your father, that's your father's company, and he did it, and they find out these things, right? And there was the briefest moment where McKeever was like, they were kind of getting along more, like, the more that they were in the house and they were, like, doing things the way they used to do, because, of course, they used to be very poor. And they were
Oh.
reminiscing and kind of thinking they were going to get back together. And McKeever had this idea like, oh, Mike and Mary, you should get married and, you know, just suit each other perfectly. Irony of ironies. So they kind of agree to it, and right, but then all this stuff starts to fall apart, as with any movie. Everything starts to fall apart and
Of
all these things
course.
happening, and now she's mad at him and she's like, you haven't changed a bit. And then daughter's mad at him because Jim's gonna move away and take the job in
Oh,
Bolivia now, and all of these things start falling into place, and he is realizing all of his mistakes. And so by the time we hit the very end of the movie, it's just this scene of, because throughout the time of him living in the house, he's been like making secret phone calls trying to like manage all of his assets, and he's been caught every time he's done it, but they just think he's like crazy old homeless man. It's like,
my
yeah,
God.
sure, Mike, sure, you've got your million, you're a billionaire, Mike, it's
Yeah.
fine, you know.
Millionaire Mike over here.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So they the three guys get told, you know, like, okay, O'Connor wants to have a meeting with you this time, this place. They go up there, and of course the chair turns around and it's Mike,
Mike
who's on the phone
Wazowski.
finishing his deal, still like dressed in the homeless outfit. And so they're like, Mike, what are you doing? Why are you behind O'Connor's desk? You gotta get out of here. And so the three of them pick this man up and shove him in a broom closet.
What?
Because it doesn't occur to them that he actually might be a billionaire. They just shove him in the broom
He
closet and lock
actually
him in there.
Mike B.
Right, right. Ha ha. So then the assistant that we've seen a couple times comes in, and they think this guy is O'Connor, but then like he's hearing the banging on the door, and he opens the door and he's like, Mr. O'Connor, why are you in the broom closet? And they're like,
And they're
oh,
like, oops, might be.
my bad. And then of course the whole thing ends, you know, like they are gonna develop the property into his idea, and like, you know, everybody's gonna get all the things that they've been working towards and all of these things. And obviously throughout the movie, McKeever has been acting as like the old wise man, you know, literally giving everybody advice and spouting off philosophical speeches like that one in the beginning.
Of
He does
course,
that
yes.
throughout the entire movie.
The wise
And does
man. You
that.
gotta have one.
You gotta have the wise man. And doing it to, you know, make everybody realize all of the things they need to realize.
Yeah.
And so at the end of it, he is the only one who has not been told who O'Connor is, and we keep up the ruse even though everybody else knows. And so everybody, like, when it's time to leave the house after Christmas, they all like crawl back out through the hole in the back and the whole 9 yards or whatever. And they're like, yeah, literally. And
Doors,
they're
man.
right. No, nobody uses doors. So, but they're like, oh, well, you can come and live with us, or we'll have this space, or do that, or this, or, you know, whatever. And he gives another one of his philosophical speeches and talking about love and all the things. And he's like, nope, I've got this fabulous place I'm gonna go to. When O'Connor comes up here, I go to. He doesn't
No.
So he takes off to the summer house. And then as he's walking away, there's the nice moment of Mike being like, or O'Connor being like, you know, Mary, remind me to board up that hole in the back. And then there's like the brief moment where everybody gives him the crazy look, like, have we learned nothing?
Like,
and
dude,
then he
what?
and then he turns back to like look at where McKeever's leaving, and he's like, you know, I want him coming in the front door next year.
Oh.
And there's a whole bunch of other stuff I left out, right? It's fantastic. It's a fantastic movie, but in the most like some maybe questionable things, but it's really great, and I watch it at least once a year, every year. It's one of the only like old school black and white movies I just love. And I have memories of like watching this as a kid, like on Christmas Eve when we did Christmas Eve dinner, and my grandfather being the one who showed it to me because it was his favorite Christmas movie, and just that being something that we bonded over.
It's a little family ritual just passed down through the generations.
It was. And because I'm the only one who loves it as much as he does, and because I was kind of the forgotten grandchild and child,
Oh,
I was the kind of left alone, the youngest child for a variety of reasons or whatever, but he and his mother were always two people who always saw me and always like when I would stay over there, he would like get up real early in the morning with me and we'd make breakfast and like do the coffee and it was always, I always felt seen.
yeah.
So
That's
it was
something
just a
so
little
special.
bonding. Yeah, yeah. And it's one of those things because relationships with people are always really tricky, right? Like where you may not always agree with things that they say or the things that they do, especially when you're talking about older generations of family. But having that really complicated dynamic in some cases where you also do still have these really great memories and that love for them while also knowing like there are also problematic aspects to it as well, but that doesn't diminish any of those things that they did for you. And just trying to navigate all of that can be really tricky, but it's,
Right.
that's just one of the things that I'll always remember.
And that's something that a lot of people I feel like face every time you go home for the holidays. There's always because it's so different when you're a kid, when you're spending time, especially with like grandparents or great grandparents, because they grew up in a completely different world.
Mm,
It's the same world, unfortunately, but it's a completely different world at the same time.
yeah.
And as a kid, none of that stuff matters as much
Yep.
because you're a kid. You're not thinking about it. You're not seeing it. All you
Mm-hmm.
see is the love that you got in your family. And then it gets complicated when you reach
Yes.
adulthood and now you're in the shoes of someone who has to
Mm-hmm.
navigate the world that grandparent left behind for you.
Right. And especially if it's that really extra weird dichotomy where you see the world the way you do because of the things that were told to you.
Yeah.
But then you're like, wait a second. That's that doesn't that
That
doesn't
makes no sense.
that doesn't check out. What?
What happened here?
Right, like where's the disconnect? And then also having to kind of like come to terms with the fact that like you will be on the other side of that relationship potentially one day,
Yes.
and the world that you lived in is not going to be the world that your children and grandchildren lived in. Yes, it's the same world, but it's not. And
Exactly.
having to like figure out how you feel in that weird middle ground, super strange place to be.
Definitely. Definitely. It's not something I like to think about.
No, it's not. It's not because it's like I know that like there potentially may come a time where like they're gonna look back at us and be like, well, but that generation,
Ugh.
they did this, or like this used to be standard practice. I can't, and obviously at the time, like I can't imagine quite what that will be. I mean, like I can obviously, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
And it's like it's just so weird. It's just so weird. But it's something that I think about every time I see this movie for a variety of reasons because it's a completely different world, but it's also not. And all of the same
Yeah.
discussions that they're having are discussions that are completely relevant now in a variety of ways. And like, yes, the views are different. Yes, things are slightly different. The world is different. But at the base of it, it's all the same.
It's all the same. Humans, we love a good pattern. We love to go back to the past. We love to do the same things that we've already done a billion times. And we love to fight about it.
And people are like, well, this is just recent problems. No,
It's like, no, no, no.
no.
We've been at this
The
for a
ancient
while.
Greeks had problems too. Don't you worry about it.
The
Everybody,
same issue.
y'all, y'all hadn't heard about Egypt. They has some issues too. The pharaohs weren't good people. Like let's get it together.
It's been a long-standing problem.
Long-standing issues. It's issues for hundreds of thousands of years at this point. It's just, there will always be issues because, I mean, I hate to be the one to throw it out there, but humans aren't perfect, and
No.
it is what
But
it is.
on the positive side of that,
Right.
we aren't perfect, and a lot of
Exactly.
us learn from our mistakes.
Yes.
And we do things to, especially living in a society, there are a lot of people that put in the work to make our society better and to make life better for people.
Which also why I love this movie, because at the end of it, you do get that payout of seeing
Right.
that people are capable of change and that you can go from change in more than one ways. A man who's changed from being, poor and rich and, from this sort of attitude to this sort of attitude to this and that or whatever. And you can, that it doesn't matter what your circumstances are, it's what you make of them in context
Yeah.
of the movie, right?
Right.
And so that's why I love it, because at the end of it, you get that payout of seeing change.
It's kind of yours. Like it's like your classic but a little more complicated Scrooge
Yes.
type of story. Yes.
A bit, yeah, for sure. It definitely is. And it's more comforting to me
Yeah.
than Charles Dickens is.
What? You don't have trauma about rattling chains? Is that just me?
I think we all have that trauma.
I don't know what it was about that. I mean, technically, like it's a ghost story, right?
Yes,
it's
it
not
is a
meant
ghost
to
story.
be not scary.
Nope.
But as a child, it kind of creeped me out, bro.
I have to feel like that man never meant for that to be a children's story. I just have to feel
No.
like that was
So why is
not
it a
the
children's
intention.
story?
Right. But we've turned, like, even the Mickey Mouse version of it, horrifying. I know they tried to make it funny, but there's only so much you can do about my man's having to wrap his head up with some cloth to keep his jaw in place. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's not for children.
this is not for children. It's not for children. I mean, good story though.
Good story.
Good story.
Definitely great story.
Great
There's
story.
a reason it's a Christmas classic, but
For
it's
real.
also like not.
Horrifying.
You
It
leave it for the adults, bro.
gave me a couple
Please.
nightmares at some point. It definitely did. No joke. And so I like this version because it came with no nightmares. And it's funny. Like,
And,
the
like,
humor
drama.
is like so stupid, like an octopus, but it makes me laugh every time.
No, start using that one.
I am. I love it. It's one of my favorite insults now. So, but that's my holiday mischief for you. And it was indeed. This is definitely also a longer episode, guys. We're sorry about that. And all we really did was explain a movie to you. Go watch mine.
Yes. Go watch Ink's movie, please.
I don't know if I'm going to say go watch Issa's unless you like being confused. If you like being confused, boy, has Issa got the movie for you. If you want to be perplexed,
If you want some whiplash, I got just the film.
get them Tokyo Godfathers.
God, there was just
You
so much.
Want to be on
I
the
was
edge of
sitting
your
there
seat.
like, oh, dude, I wasn't even in my seat most of the movie. I was pacing, trying to figure out what was going on.
And it's the fact that it took you several watches to finish it, and the fact that you're like pacing the whole way. I'm like, nothing about it gives me comforting vibes at all. Like, this is not a movie I want to sit down with my hot beverage in front of the fire and watch for Christmas time.
But I'm sure it's somebody's comfort Christmas movie.
I'm certain it is. There is a comfort holiday movie for everybody, regardless of your identity as a human. There's a holiday something for everyone.
Of course.
And if you don't celebrate the holidays, you too probably have a favorite Christmas movie because they're everywhere at this time of year. They're impossible to avoid. like
And maybe a favorite
COVID.
Hallmark movie. That's what I should have picked. I should have picked
A
a Hallmark movie.
would have been no less dramatic,
No less
but less
dramatic.
perplexing.
Less gunfire, probably.
Less gunfire. Less gunfire, yes. And potentially with more gays, because Hallmark has the gays now.
They do?
Hallmark has the gays now. There was a couple of, I think it's like a, maybe it's not, I don't know if it's like a sequel, there's two of them or not or whatever, but there are the gays in Hallmark,
Oh
in
my
multiple.
goodness.
And I found out, side note of side notes, we can maybe cut this out, Candace Cameron Bure, who played DJ Tanner in Full House, you know, the oldest daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. She is very religious.
Oh, no.
And so, because they have the gays on Hallmark, she quit.
Bruh. Okay,
And then proceeded to
Fine.
start her own company
Get your
to
bitch ass
do
out. Ain't
those
nobody want you
Christmas movies that would like, or just movies in general that push her religious values. Yes.
I bet it sucks.
They're not great. They're not. I'm not saying Hallmark movies are like the end all be all of great filmmaking, but
Oh,
some of
no,
them are
absolutely
good.
not.
Some of them are good because they just scratch an itch.
They know.
know,
They have
they
their
know-
audience. They know
have their
their
audience.
formulas.
Exactly. And some of them are good with the Christmas movies because they do have different plots and they sort of follow the script, but not quite.
And I feel like you can be more corny like that on Christmas, too.
Correct. And so
Yeah.
I am down with a Hallmark Christmas movie. Some of them, not all of them. But I'm down with like the newer Hallmark Christmas movies. So anyways, so yeah, but they have one and it like follows like 3 generations of people like living in this house, and there are some gays, and it's very shocking. I mean,
That's what's up.
not that it's Hallmark. Just not the
Just shocking that there's Hallmark homos.
Right.
That's the shocking thing.
that Hallmark homos are a thing. Yes. And that is played by the guy who was, do you remember John, no, not John Hunter Must Die, something else. It was I don't know, but you'll recognize this guy's face if you see him. I can't remember what he's in to save my life. It'll come to me later. But he was like a really big figure in some movie when we were kids, or a couple things when we were kids, and now he is actually gay and is out and is playing on Hallmark and roles.
I see. I
It's
gotta
very-
know who this is now.
Yeah, I gotta find his name. Hold on, I'm getting it. Christmas movies. It's called none of these. Oh, Christmas on Cherry Lane, I think. Maybe, is that it? Cherry Lane. Yes, that's it. So the guy in it is cast Jonathan Bennett is his name.
Jonathan Bennett.
He was in Mean Girls. That's what he was. He was the main guy in Mean Girls.
Oh. Wait, let me look at his face. No. Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, this guy.
Yes.
No, I remember. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic. Good for him.
Right.
Good for
and is doing the gay things. Now I don't. Oh, I think he's married too. Actually,
Oh,
yes, he is. He is.
congratulations, Mr. Jonathan Bennett.
Right. And
Amazing.
so that was my little fun moment for you. So Christmas on Cherry Lane, also a really good Christmas movie. Do recommend. It's a Hallmark movie, but it does not follow the typical Hallmark standards. So also, if you guys are looking for a Hallmark Christmas movie and want something a little different, check out Christmas on Cherry Lane.
Nice.
I think that's everything from me.
Yeah, okay. Well, wrapping it up. Thank you everyone so much for listening. I
Sorry,
hope
we ramble.
so sorry. Maybe this will be a two-parter. This might be a
It might be a two-parter.
It might be a two-parter.
We
It might
split
be a
them up
special,
into one and one.
yeah, special
Yeah.
Christmas week two-parter,
Maybe,
2 episodes.
Yes, it comes to you on different days.
Yeah. One Christmas Eve, one Christmas Day.
Exactly.
Or something like that. Yeah, yeah. But thank you guys so much for listening. You can follow us on our socials at Interpop Podcast, Instagram, TikTok. Follow us, check us out. We post weekly here on Fridays. I don't know if I've officially said that on the podcast, but it does say that on our social media. I know I did put that on there at least. But thank you so much for listening. Thanks for checking us out. All your support helps. Comment down below what your favorite comfort Christmas movie is. What do you like to watch this time of year?
Let us know.
Tell
us what Slumgullion is. Also,
Yeah. If you're Irish, tell us what Slumgullion
tell us
is.
what Slumgullion is and why it made that man marry her. I need answers.
If it made him marry her, maybe somebody could make
Right.
it for me.
I need it. That's
Maybe.
what I'm saying. Christmas miracles.
Christmas miracles.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.